Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is a quick video on the continuation of our previous videos on loops. In this video, we will discuss about the conditional loops. So in our previous video, we have discussed about the counter loops with the help of for and for each. Now we have another type of loop which is a conditional loop. Obviously, as the name suggests, it runs on conditions. As soon as the condition meets, it continue execution unless the condition has been false or unsatisfied. So there are two different type of loop available with C#. First is while loop, and then we have a do while loop. Let's look at the syntax of while loop. So here I have a program which I'll be using to run the while loop demo. The syntax of the while loop starts from while, as no surprises with that. As soon as I press double tap on this while hint or on this suggestion from the Microsoft Windows, from the Visual Studio, I get a syntax for the while loop, and the syntax is somehow looks similar to the if condition. It just, instead of if, you are using the while condition. The difference between if and while is if condition only runs once if the condition is true, whereas while loop keep on running until the condition is not false, right? So that's the difference, and that is why it is fall under the category of the loop, whereas if is just a conditional operator which we use, conditional statement which we use in our program. Now this here you need to provide the condition. Obviously, if I do not if I simply use this true as is, which means this true becomes always true, and this loop will go into infinite time execution. So it's a condition of infinite, running infinite loop. If you ever been asked to run or create an infinite loop, you can simply use the infinite condition like this with while loop. Simply put true, this will work absolutely fine infinite time as it is running it right now. Now obviously we don't want to do that, because unless you are hampering the performance of your application and the system. So I'll go and take a look at the same example wherein we have the name of the player and we want to print each character of this player in the console window separately. To do that, you need to have the condition. So we need to print each of these characters unless the cursor moves to the very last character. So obviously, to do that, we need to know the length of this string. So I can get the length of the string into a separate variable. Let's say len. I can do it like this. Right, and then I can run it. I can specify the condition here. Now obviously this is having a value, let's say 10 or 20, whatever is the length of the string. So 20 is not a boolean value, because to make use of this as a condition, you need to have a comparison operator, like we have seen the comparison operator in our previous example. So what I can do to make the comparison operator, I can declare another variable which is of type, let's say counter, and I can put the starting index of the counter as in 0, and then I can make it like that. Unless the counter is less than length, then keep on running this, right? And what I want to do is I would want the index of each value, or the counter index of each character of this string. I want to print it as in console write line output. Let's put a breakpoint here and see the execution, how long it works. Counter starts from 0, length is 10. So obviously if I run it F10, then it will go inside the execution boundary of while loop. It prints the very first character, then again it checks the condition, counter is 0, Now here if I just simply put the execute the program, again it will run on infinite loop, because it is keep on checking the value of the counter versus the length of the string, and it is always going to be, counter always going to be 0 and the length is always going to be the whatever the length, right? And your program will never exit. So what do you need to do? You need the exit condition for your while loop, and to make a proper exit condition there could be a various way, but the simplest possible approach is you need to increment the value of the counter. And as the C#.NET or the Visual Studio have suggested, I'll press the tab, and what we are doing here is we are incrementing the counter by 1 using the post increment operator, which we have seen in the previous demo. Now this time what will happen is it will increment the counter by 1 on every execution of the while loop. So starting from 0, it prints the very first character, then again its value is 0, but now as soon as the execution completes using the decrement operator, the counter becomes 1. Now it checks, instead of checking this time with 0, it is checking the value with the length 1, and then it will goes on and on. Next time it will check 2, 3 and so on. And now if I take a look at the example, here we got the output, which is a proper output. We got each and every character printed the way we expected to write, correct? Again, like we did in the for loop scenario, we can increment this condition by any value. I can put the counter increment value directly like this, whereas in the for loop I was only able to use the assignment operator. I'll give you one example one more time. Here, right, I cannot, with I cannot do it like this. So I can put any value with the counter, like is, let's say, very first character, then counter is set to 9, so it will put I think use the last character in the first character. The counter is always set to 9, but it's not incrementing, so obviously it's going to be keep on running infinite time, because again we are resetting it to 999, so it's not a valid condition. So you have to be very sure on writing your logic, what exactly you want to when exactly you want your logic to be, or your loop to be exit. So you need to specify exit condition properly, otherwise your program will keep on running on infinite loop, and that will consume a lot of memory and slow down the overall computer processing in which the program is running. That's about the while loop. We have another operator, as I mentioned at the beginning. You have the do while loop, which the keyword for that is the do, and as soon as you press double tap, obviously you would have the condition do as well as the while. Now what is the difference between these two syntax is, while loop first executes the condition and then runs the implementation of your logic which is written inside the loop, whereas do while loop at least runs once without checking the condition. For an example, if I write the same condition it here and here as well, okay, exactly the same condition, no issues with that. Obviously you have to put a semicolon here, but if you look at the difference here is the execution will start from here, from the do. Compiler will start executing you from the do keyword. It will run this without matching the condition, without checking the condition, irrespective of the condition is matching or not, right? Even though if I say false, it will run it and then next time it will check the condition. So it's a pre-condition check and this is a post-condition check, right? So that is a difference here. So let's have a look at the condition, or we can check it condition as in, let's say I'm going to reset the counter again to 0 just for the demonstration, right? As we have expected, our loop has entered inside the do criteria, and now it's going to print the very first character because the value of the counter is 0 here. Now next it will go and inside the while condition, and here it has found false, which means the condition is not meeting as it is expected, and as soon as it is set to false, the loop is terminated and the compiler goes to the next statement, right? So now even though here it is false, at least it is printing a character which is B here, right? And now if I do the same thing here, which is setting it as false, you would see that this is grayed out. So compiler knows that this means that this code is never going to be satisfied the condition, so this will never execute it. Basically this is a dead code which you have written. If I run it, you would only see the character B printed here, right? Nothing else, right? Because do has managed to print the character once, and after that it's exited because the condition is not matching, whereas the while has never meet the condition, so it's not even executing for the single time. So that is one of the difference between do and while loop. And whenever you have a requirement to run or execute your logic in a loop, but regardless of condition you want to check or not, if you want to execute at least once, then use the do while loop. And if you have requirement to check or run execution only if your condition is satisfied, then use the while loop. I hope you have got the idea what I'm talking about. That's it in the looping section. We'll discuss some new ideas about the .NET in our upcoming section. Thanks for watching it. See you in the next video.